we do that, we're going to close the game. And doing so will allow us to clip out of bounds and get into a no-clip state. So I can just avoid the stairs. I can walk through the walls, through the couch. Off barriers like that, you can just clip through them by walking through the barrier as you walk onto it. It's so cool. And now I'm going to fast travel to the cafe. This is taking advantage of a bug in OneShot, where in that room specifically, you're allowed to fast travel indoors. Hello, and welcome to my OneShot AGDQ 2022 submission video. OneShot is one of the most innovative 2D adventure games out there, and its speedrun features many cool sequence breaks and skips. Time will begin in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so we're playing as a character called Nico, and we are stuck in this weird decaying house, and we have to find our way out of here. We're going to grab a TV remote, which tells us the password for this computer here, and input it into the computer. However, this computer is ominous. It's breaking the fourth wall by sending a dialog box through windows that we have to click out of. It is totally external to the game. And as you can see, this game breaks the boundaries of the game window. We use a branch and a bottle of alcohol to light a fire, which we could use to see a key. And now we're going to walk down the stairs. After we walk down the stairs here, there's going to be a cool skip that I'll be attempting. I'm going to get ready on the close menu for the game. And as soon as I get to a certain point, I'm going to close the game as I walk onto a tile. Oh, I didn't quite get it there. But that skip would have skipped that cutscene right there. That is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to one-shot speedruns. Closing the game has some really cool effects that will be shown again during the run. We have this light bulb, which is the sun. And the sun is the light source for this world, much like our sun is to Earth. And the mission of OneShot is to deliver the sun to the center of the world, where there's this huge tower. And in this tower, we have to climb all the way up to the very top and put the sun in there so that we can restore life and peace to this crumbling world. Now that we're outside of the Barrens, or the house, we are now entering the Barrens, which is the first main area of OneShot. The house serves as more of a tutorial stage, while the Barrens is where the gameplay really begins. That dialog box just showed us what fast traveling is, and we're going to be exploiting that many, many, many times through the use of the run. If we go onto a tile, warp back to the previous tile through fast traveling, and then fast travel to that tile again, we can save a lot of time in walking due to the spawn point, of which we go back to the tile at. This is the Profit Bot. The Profit Bot's going to fill us in on some lore, but there's only one section that we need to do, which is the computer section. And that's going to introduce us, the player, to Nico, the character in the game. The cool thing about OneShot is that there's a direct connection between Nico, the character in the game, as well as the player ourselves. So you can make an argument that we're playing as ourselves, controlling Nico during this run. As you see, I just closed the game there. So what the heck happened there? Every time I go into the bed and take a nap, the game will close itself. And the way to resume progress is to reopen the game again. During these dialog boxes, as Nico recollects their dream, we're going to say no or select the bottom option for every dialog box, which is going to save a couple frames throughout the course of that dialogue. And in that place we took a nap at, we got what was a steel bar, and we're going to make a crowbar out of it and become Gordon Freeman. We're channeling that Gordon Freeman energy with this crowbar. So now we need to make our way all the way over to the east side of the Barrens. And to do that faster, we're going to do some really cool fast traveling. So we fast traveled over to this tile, back to the previous one, and then back to this one again, which is going to set our spawn point fairly far into the tile. So it would be faster to fast travel than it would be to walk from the entrance of the tile to the spawn point that I would spawn at. Now that we're at the outpost, we're going to meet a character called Silver. Silver is going to help us out quite a bit here. We're going to get some parts to make a generator, which is going to restore some of the life to the robots that are inhabiting the Barrens. I'm going to make sure to go to the right side of the entrance so that when Silver walks into frame, she only has to walk the minimum distance required. She doesn't have to spend time going around us if we were to select the left side. One cool thing about OneShot is that it has automatic tech smashing, which makes it easier on players' hands. This was a feature that the developers added to OneShot after players were not too happy with having to spam through all the dialogue because of stuff like hand pain, hand discomfort. And now we're going to do the first major crafting sequence of the run. We're going to combine all this stuff right here to make a charged battery. And we're going to use this battery to put inside of the generator. Making sure that you craft items fast in OneShot is really important. It can be really easy to lose your footing and select the wrong item and have to go through the dialogue associated with selecting a wrong item. It really pays off to go quickly here. And as you can see, the game is referring to me as Kevin during those computer sequences, which is my real name. So here we have a save code. This save code is found in the Documents folder of OneShot. You have to open it up in a text editor and input it into the save here, which is one of the coolest puzzles here. The community has allowed the use of a tool called the OneShot utility, which automatically reads the save code and allows runners to save a bit more time. The gas mask is going to allow us to travel in this area, which has a lot of air pollution. We're going to do some cool fast traveling shenanigans here. Fast traveling to the docks and then back to the dormitories. We're going to collect some items in order to make a sponge to save a robot. Literally a robot, R-O-W-B-O-T, which operates a boat that we need to use to get over to the next section of the OneShot world. And he's all rusty and stuff, so we need to make an acidic sponge so that we can clean off the robot so it can move and around and stuff. We're fast traveling back to the shrimp swamp. We got our syringe in hand and we're going to put it into this bubble. And this bubble is going to allow us to fill up the syringe with some fluid. Now I'm going to select the bottle. And over on this north side of the shrimp swamp, I'm going to fill the bottle up with some smoke. Now that we have that done, we can go over to the old factory, use our crowbar, Gordon Freeman style, and gain access to the back area of the factory, which is going to give us the sponge itself that we need. It's just a dry sponge, though. We still have to combine a bunch of items in just a moment to make sure it's wet and acidic so we can clean the robot with it. Now that we have a bottle of acid, we'll combine it with the sponge, and we'll make the wet sponge. And we can use that to clean the robot and talk to it. Let's see what it has to say. As you can see, the run so far, we had a really cool skip in house that I attempted and unfortunately didn't get. A lot of this Barrens has been routing and tech smashing and item combination. It's a lot of small stuff that can really add up over the course of the run. It's really easy to lose time here if something goes wrong. So even though there may not be many skips in this part, or exploits or tricks aside from the fast traveling thing, you still gotta be alert during this whole section. So we just got the amber from Silver, and the amber is going to allow the robot to navigate through the ocean and onto the Glen, which is the second area of OneShot. That was all for the Barrens. A lot to do there. Did it all fairly quickly. Good stuff so far. And once you go in between worlds in OneShot, you get these really cool cinematics, these art pieces made by Night Margin, who is the game's main artist. Really cool stuff. The Barrens was rather gloomy. Not a whole lot of light. But the Glen is much more lively. Really cool cinematic here. And you can see in the distance that purple bar in the back, that is the tower that we have to go to. The world of OneShot is in a flat circle. So you have the outer ring, which is the Barrens, the middle ring, which is the Glen, which we're in right now, and then you have the Refuge in the center. Gonna do a quick fast traveling here, and we're gonna talk to Calamus, who is this person here. Calamus is missing his sister, Alula, and we have to go find Alula and save her and reunite her with Calamus. And to do that, we're gonna go into this area here, all the way over to the right. Alula is going to be in one of these rooms, and there's a puzzle associated with getting her out of the room. But before we do that, we need to drop off the sun to someone named Maze, who is a dying being who needs the light for warmth and comfort. It's one of the more sad moments of OneShot's story. But it's required for us to leave the sun with Maze, and while the sun is with Maze, we can go ahead and do some of the other tasks associated with the Glen. You might be catching in these dialogue sequences, Nico is being referred to as the Savior. The reason for this is that Nico is on a mission to return the sun to the tower and restore life to the world. And in the prophecy of this world, Nico is the Savior. Whoever is doing this is the Savior, and that is Nico. You might be wondering, who the heck is Nico? Why are they here? The fact is, they are from another world, and they were transported into this digital world, into this game, where they have to fulfill this objective. Here we're going to do a tile puzzle. There's a few of these in OneShot. These are always fun to do. They have some really interesting routing. There was a sequence break that I performed just now. The solution to this puzzle, you have to go and talk to a computer, which is going to change your desktop wallpaper to the solution of the puzzle. But since the solution is static, we don't need to do that, which is unfortunate because it's one of the cooler puzzles in OneShot. Whoa, it changed my wallpaper. Hey, that formation looks oddly familiar. Cool stuff. So that was Alula. We just rescued Alula. But before we can return her to Calamus, we have to do something called the Ram Puzzle. This one's always fun. It's one of my favorite parts of the run. There's a shepherd here, and the shepherd wants us to put all the rams back in their spots, as noted by the circular holes in the ground. There's a few different ways that I can solve this puzzle, but there's a cool route for getting all the rams back in their spots. Also, cool winning chime coming up. And as a reward, we got the wool, which we're going to use to trade with the trader pretty soon. But before we do that, let's go ahead and drop off Alula back to Calamus. And in thanks, they're going to take us back to their house and show us around and give us a gift. The reason why we don't trade the wool immediately with that trader is because it's actually faster to do it after this part. There's a bit of leeway in which you can do things in the Glen. It's not exactly linear, but doing it this way saves some walking time. Because instead of walking from the shepherd to the trader, I'm going to be walking from the exit to the dungeon here and walking upwards, which we'll see in just a little bit. It's faster than doing that. Finding little ways to optimize walking time in OneShot can go a really long way. So unfortunately, Maze is no longer with us, but we have the sun again. It comforted her in her last moments. Now that we're back in the dungeon, we can go ahead and do the trading mission. I have the wool equipped, and doing so is going to give us all the necessary ingredients to make a pen. And we're going to need this pen right before we go to the refuge. Going to warp over to the gate and go to bed, which is going to close out the game. Upon reopening it, we're presented with a dream sequence of Nico running through a field back to their hometown. Nico is not from this world. Nico was transported to this game. It's really meta in that regard. And I'm also going to select no, or the bottom option on those dialogue sequences. Saves a bit of time. Now that we have the pen crafted, we can sign this contract, which is going to allow us to go over to the refuge, which is the final main area of OneShot. This is the last area we'll be going to before we have to deliver the sun to the tower. Huh, the squares, they're appearing. And they're following us. Squares are dangerous in this game. You don't want to go near them. They're a corruption of the game world. So this is the Refuge. Each world has a really different color scheme. Barrens was blue, Glen was green, and the Refuge is red. We're up on this walkway that oversees the entire city. You can see many of the big buildings below us. And we want to get to that lower level, and we can do so by using this elevator. However, there's a small problem with the elevator. The elevator button is broken and needs to be fixed. And we have to get a bunch of items in order to craft a button to make the elevator work again. I'm going to walk down to the cafe, which is going to unlock that fast travel point. And upon waking up from sleep here, I'm going to warp to the cafe immediately after waking up, which is going to save some time. Here we have a dream sequence of Nico eating some delicious pancakes made by their mother. Here I'm going to make sure to select the bottom option whenever I'm able to. And now I'm going to fast travel to the cafe. This is taking advantage of a bug in OneShot, where in that room specifically, you're allowed to fast travel indoors. You are never able to fast travel indoors except for that one location, which appears to be a developer oversight. So we picked up the can from the cafe. Now we have to get the magnets as well as a pair of scissors. And we're going to do that by walking down this long hallway here. First stop is the bathroom. And in the bathroom, that's where we're going to find our scissors. Looks like someone was cutting their hair in here and forgot to take it all out. So earlier I mentioned that there's going to be some cool skips in this run. We saw the first skip in-house at the very start of the game that I attempted to do. And there's also going to be a skip in the library, which is coming up fairly soon. It uses a similar strat where we have to close out of the game as we walk onto a certain tile. And it's also going to be done again right before the end of the run. So here we can combine the metal can with the scissors, the magnets with the button, which is going to give us a magnetized button. And we can walk all the way over here and tape it all together, thanks to this conveniently placed roll of tape. Now that we have our button all assembled, we can go ahead and put it in the elevator and get it operational again. Oh no. The squares, they're back. The ones we saw on the way to Refuge. So here's the elevator code. We have to put in the code here. It's static. There's a really cool puzzle associated with getting this code where you have to open up the Clover program. The Clover program is a secondary program included with OneShot. You use it for some of the puzzles. It's required to have it open in order to complete the game, but for many of the puzzles we can bypass the Clover program. But the way it would work is that you have to drag around to the edges of your monitor, and wherever the window goes off screen, it'll reveal a little bit of the code. Really cool puzzle. So now we're getting ready to go to the library and perform that really cool skip I was talking about earlier. We just met the lamplighter, and he just kind of ran off and did his own thing. We're not going to see him again for the rest of the run. I just unlocked the fast travel point for the back alley, and now I'm going to go unlock the fast travel point for the library. And from the fast travel point of the back alley, I'll be able to unlock the vendor street fast travel point, which is going to set me up later in the run after I'm done in the library. Here I'm going to get ready for Kip Skip. I'm going to close the game as I walk into a barrier, and doing so correctly. Oh, I did not do it right that time. After talking to Nico, I'm going to reposition my mouse and hold shift as I walk into the barrier. Oh, I messed it up again. I'm going to hold shift as I walk into the barrier, and as Nico walks onto that tile, I close the game. And once I reopen it, Nico finishes walking past the barrier, which skips an immense amount of time in Refuge. That skips an entire side quest where you have to go around town getting components for a library card, taking pictures, doing a really strange light puzzle. It is definitely the coolest skip in OneShot. And we're not doing it just this one time. We're going to be doing it a second time after we talk to George. George is the person with the dice head that we just dropped off that strange journal with. And she's going to be translating it for us. And once the journal is translated and we're done in the library, we're going to go back down and exit the library the same way we came in by doing that really cool kip skip, where I have to close the game as I walk onto a tile. That's how you pass through barriers in OneShot. It doesn't work for clipping through walls, but soft barriers like that, you can just clip through them by walking through the barrier as you walk onto it. It's so cool. Kip skip is awesome. And it's so neat that it's used a few times in a run. First time in house, and then you have 2 times here, and then you have another time that's going to be used over close to the end of the game. It's awesome. So I got that vendor street fast travel. That's going to help me out here. And we're ready to go to the tower. The tower, the place we've been waiting to go for so long. And we're going to deliver the sun to the tower. And the game will be over. But it's not as easy as that, unfortunately. Once we go in here, we have to close the game. Going to reopen it. And upon doing so, we're going to be presented with a dream sequence of Nico being transported into the tower. And during this entire time, we are separated from Nico. We can control Nico. We can see what they're thinking and saying, but Nico can't interact with us anymore. As you can see, Nico is wondering, where is Kevin? Nico's just kind of on their own from their perspective. And this is the computer. The computer is going to convince Nico that, hey, Kevin's left. Kevin's finished their journey. And you're about to go home. You're about to get what you want, too. You want to go back to your parents in that village of yours. No. We can't allow this to happen. And thanks to having the Clover program open right here, we're able to reconnect with Nico in this dream sequence. This game has a lot of layers to it. We're interacting with Nico, a character transported into a game world. We are interacting with Nico. We as in a real-life person inside of a dream of a character inside of a video game. It's wild. Anyway, this is the tower. The tower is the final area of OneShot, and we're going to have some really cool puzzles coming up. I have the solutions open on a notepad, which is going to make sure I don't forget them. This is a maze, and the way you'd find your ways through the maze is by overlaying the Clover program onto OneShot, which will tell you the direct way to go through the maze. But since it's all static, we can just memorize it and go through it from memory, or if you're like me, you have notes open. This door puzzle is really easy to mess up, so even though I know all the solutions, I have to be really careful. Lots of doors to go through. Life has many doors. This is a huge tile puzzle, similar to the one we saw in the Alula area in Glen, where we had to rescue Alula. These tile puzzles can be really easy to mess up, and they can have complicated solutions at times. For this one, we're making a reverse L shape, making sure to get all the appropriate tiles. And the way you'd know the answer to these tile puzzles is by overlaying the Clover program. This final tile puzzle is really difficult. It's the light bulb. You have to make a huge light bulb on this massive tile grid. There's a really fast route you can do for it, which is also easy to mess up, but had a good recovery there. And that was it. This is the finishing stretch of OneShot. We got the light bulb back. Nico is going to be reconnected with us. All that's left to do is to go into the tower and deliver the light bulb. But not before we do an awesome skip. We're going to do kip skip again. We're going to walk onto the stairs, and then while we do that, we're going to close the game. And doing so will allow us to clip out of bounds and get into a no-clip state. So I can just avoid the stairs, I can walk through the walls, through the couch, go in this door, just take a beeline straight to the elevator at the end here. This skips an immense amount of dialogue matching and walking time. Also, we're still in no-clip, even after entering the elevator. So I can just kind of walk around here. You can see there's some really cool walls around here, and I'm just out of bounds. Really neat stuff. It's revealed that to save the world, we put the light bulb back. But to save Nico, we have to destroy the light bulb. So we're presented with a really tough decision. And for this, I will choose to save the world. Could be a donation incentive. Anyway, time's coming up in 3, 2, 1, time. And that was OneShot. OneShot is one of my favorite games ever. And its speedrun is really interesting. Really cool route optimizations. You have frame perfect text matching. You have really optimal crafting sequences. You have all of the moments the game closes and the fourth wall breaks, which really set it apart from other 2D RPG Maker adventure games. And you also have the cool kip skips that you do throughout the run. Really cool stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for your consideration, GDQ, and I look forward to hearing the verdict.